What was supposed to be a regular night backstage turned into absolute chaos when fists started flying between Stevie J and Lil Scrappy. The brawl got so out of control that security couldn't stop it, and the shocking aftermath left Stevie J in handcuffs while Scrappy was rushed to the hospital. The footage, the eyewitness accounts, and the fallout from this explosive fight are crazier than anyone could have imagined. When it comes to hip-hop and reality TV stars, drama is practically guaranteed, but no one expected things to spiral the way they did backstage at a recent show. Stevie J, one of the most infamous figures in the love and hip-hop universe, and Lil Scrappy, Atlanta's own Prince of Crunk, turned what should have been a regular night of music and performance into one of the most chaotic brawls of the year. By the end of it, Stevie J was being let out in handcuffs, Lil Scrappy was on his way to the hospital, and the entire industry was left in shock. The night started off normal enough. A popular Atlanta venue was hosting a star-studded event featuring several love and hip-hop alumni, rappers, and influencers. Cameras were rolling, fans were buzzing, and the energy backstage was high. But beneath the surface, there was already tension. Stevie J and Lil Scrappy had a history of petty jabs, shady comments, and unresolved beef dating back years. What fans didn't know, though, was that the drama had been simmering long before this night, and all it needed was one spark to explode. Insiders say the argument started over something small. Stevie J reportedly made a slick comment about Scrappy's career not being hot like it used to be. Scrappy, never one to let disrespect slide, clapped back, reminding Stevie J that at least he wasn't living off women's checks. The room went silent. Those words cut deep because Stevie J has long been accused of manipulating his relationships for money and clout. Things might have cooled down if security had stepped in right then, but instead, the argument escalated. Stevie, fueled by his trademark arrogance, got in Scrappy's face, taunting him, calling him washed up. Scrappy shoved him back, and that's when all hell broke loose. Witnesses say fists flew instantly. Scrappy swung first, landing a shot on Stevie's jaw, but Stevie didn't back down. He lunged at Scrappy, and the two of them crashed into a table stacked with drinks and equipment. Security tried to break them apart, but it was too late. The fight had already turned violent. Eyewitnesses described it as one of the wildest brawls they'd ever seen backstage, with chairs knocked over, crew members yelling, and fans who snuck backstage filming the whole thing on their phones. At one point, Stevie J allegedly grabbed a bottle and threatened to swing it, which is when security had to physically restrain him. Scrappy, meanwhile, wasn't backing down either. He kept lunging, trying to break free and get back at Stevie. The two men were completely out of control, and the chaos only ended when police were called in. By the time officers arrived, the scene was pure madness. Stevie J was still shouting, trying to explain himself, while Scrappy was hunched over in pain. Reports say Scrappy may have been hit in the ribs during the fight, and he was coughing and struggling to breathe. That's when paramedics stepped in, placing him on a stretcher and rushing him to the hospital. Fans outside were stunned to see Lil Scrappy being wheeled out, while Stevie J was being handcuffed right in front of them. The arrest shocked everyone, but according to police, Stevie J was the aggressor once the fight escalated. Multiple witnesses told officers that he picked up a weapon, a glass bottle, which turned the altercation into something more serious. That alone was enough for cops to detain him on the spot. Stevie was taken into custody, his face looking bruised but still defiant, as fans recorded the entire walk of shame. As news broke online, social media went into overdrive. Within minutes, Stevie J and Lil Scrappy were trending, with fans posting clips from backstage and sharing their own takes on the drama. Some people sided with Scrappy, saying Stevie had it coming after years of arrogance and shady behavior. Others claimed Scrappy should have kept his cool, that Stevie was just trying to bait him into a fight. Either way, the internet was eating it up, and the memes came fast. One viral post showed a split image of Stevie in handcuffs and Scrappy in a hospital bed with the caption, "Love and Hip Hop ER Edition." But while fans were laughing, the situation was deadly serious. Scrappy's injuries turned out to be more severe than people realized. Doctors revealed he had a fractured rib and internal bruising from the fight. While he wasn't in critical condition, the pain was intense enough to keep him hospitalized overnight. Scrappy's team released a brief statement asking fans for prayers and assuring them he was stable, but the damage had already been done. For Stevie J, the arrest was just another addition to his long list of controversies. Known for his reckless behavior, womanizing, and constant fights, Stevie seemed unfazed as his mugshot began circulating online. Insiders say he was joking around in the holding cell, bragging that the fight would only boost his relevance. But this time, the consequences might be heavier than he expected. Legal experts pointed out that picking up a bottle during the fight could lead to an assault with a weapon charge, which carries serious penalties. Meanwhile, industry insiders were buzzing about how this brawl could affect both men's careers. Lil Scrappy has been trying to rebuild his image, focusing on his family and music, but this incident dragged him right back into the spotlight for the wrong reasons. Stevie J, on the other hand, thrives on chaos, but fans wondered if this time he went too far. Even some of his longtime supporters admitted online that he might finally be facing consequences he can't charm his way out of. Backstage sources also revealed that the fight might have been about more than just insults. Apparently, Stevie J had been making advances towards Scrappy's new girlfriend in recent weeks, something Scrappy didn't appreciate. Rumors suggest Scrappy confronted him about it earlier in the night, and that tension spilled over into the fight. If true, it explains why Scrappy was so quick to throw hands after Stevie started running his mouth. As all of this played out, fans started demanding that Love and hip-hop producers release the backstage footage. People wanted to see exactly what happened, from the first insult to the last punch thrown. And knowing how the franchise thrives on drama, it wouldn't be surprising if the entire fight ends up being featured in an upcoming season. For now, though, the fallout is far from over. Scrappy is recovering in the hospital, Stevie J is facing legal charges, and the industry is buzzing with speculation about what really went down. And if the leaks and whispers are true, this is just the beginning of a scandal that could unravel more secrets than anyone expected. If Part 1 laid out how the chaos began, Part 2 dives even deeper into the messy aftermath, the shocking details that emerged after Stevie J's arrest, and how Lil Scrappy's hospitalization sent shockwaves across the industry. When word broke that Stevie J had been officially cuffed backstage, social media practically exploded. Fans who were at the venue immediately began uploading shaky cell phone footage of security rushing into the dressing room. One clip that went viral showed Stevie J being escorted out with his hands behind his back, his shirt ripped and face looking furious as he shouted something at the crowd of onlookers. While his words weren't clear, the body language said it all. This wasn't just a heated argument gone wrong. This was personal. Meanwhile, another angle caught Scrappy being wheeled out on a stretcher, holding his side with a grimace. Fans screamed his name, but he didn't respond. That silence only fueled rumors. Was Scrappy seriously injured? Did Stevie take things too far? And how did this all go from backstage banter to a full-on violent fight that ended careers in a single night? Insiders close to the scene claim that tensions had been boiling all day. According to a source, Stevie J and Scrappy had exchanged words earlier in the afternoon during rehearsals. Allegedly, Stevie made a slick comment about Scrappy's relevance in the music game, suggesting that Scrappy's career was barely hanging on, while Stevie's name would always carry weight. Scrappy, never one to back down, clapped back, calling Stevie washed up and clout-chasing off old drama. At first, it seemed like a typical industry shade. But everyone backstage noticed the tension never really settled. By the time the cameras stopped rolling that night, the energy backstage was like a ticking time bomb. Artists, producers, and even stagehands whispered that they could feel something was about to erupt. Nobody expected fists would fly, let alone that Scrappy would be left hospitalized. Scrappy's hospitalization brought a whole new level of seriousness to the situation. When the news broke that he had been admitted for what doctors described as trauma-related injuries, the internet turned savage. Fans began debating whether Stevie J had crossed the line from heated rivalry to criminal assault. Scrappy's supporters demanded justice, while Stevie's defenders argued that Scrappy might have thrown the first punch. The divide was clear. Half the internet was screaming "Free Stevie J," while the other half wanted him locked up for good. What complicated things further was the timing. Stevie J had already been trying to make a quiet comeback in the industry after a string of scandals, and Scrappy had just been teasing new music to revive his career. Now, both men were caught in a headline-grabbing scandal that threatened everything they'd been working on, adding fuel to the fire were other love and hip-hop stars who couldn't resist weighing in. Erica Dixon, Scrappy's ex and longtime source of drama, jumped on Instagram Live within hours of the fight making news. She didn't hold back, calling Stevie J toxic and claiming this wasn't the first time he'd crossed boundaries backstage. While she didn't name specifics, she implied Stevie's temper had always been a problem. Fans immediately connected the dots, suggesting Erica might be hinting at past altercations we never saw on camera. On the flip side, Stevie's ex Jocelyn Hernandez reportedly laughed when asked about the fight during a club appearance the same night. According to fans in attendance, Jocelyn threw shade by saying, "That man has always been messy, but Scrappy knew better than to test him." The crowd erupted, but her comments only deepened the public's curiosity. Was there a bigger story here? Behind the scenes, producers of the show were scrambling. A backstage fight that ended with hospitalization and an arrest was both a nightmare and a ratings dream. Some insiders revealed that security footage from the venue had already been secured, and conversations were underway about whether to release it on the next season or bury it completely. The decision, they said, would depend on how the legal case unfolded. If Stevie J ended up facing serious charges, airing the footage could expose the network to lawsuits. But if the case fizzled, it could be turned into explosive reality TV gold. For Scrappy, the hospital stay meant missed performances and canceled appearances, costing him money and momentum. Friends close to him reported that he was more upset about the damage to his career than the physical pain. "Scrappy feels like this was a setup," one insider shared. "He thinks Stevie wanted to humiliate him and make him look weak." That narrative quickly picked up steam online, with fans sharing old clips of Scrappy's clashes with Stevie on Love and Hip Hop, pointing out how their beef had been simmering for years. As the night of the fight turned into the morning after, the storyline only grew messier. TMZ-style outlets picked up exclusive photos of Stevie J being transferred from the local police station to county jail. His mugshot surfaced shortly after, and fans couldn't stop dissecting it. Some claimed he looked smug, while others swore he looked broken. Either way, it was clear this wasn't just a scuffle. It was about to turn into a full-blown scandal, with long-lasting consequences. By the time Scrappy updated fans from his hospital bed with a short message on Instagram, "I'm good, y'all. Appreciate the love," the internet had already picked sides. Some cheered him on for surviving what they believed was an attack, while others mocked him for ending up in the hospital. Meanwhile, Stevie J's team stayed silent, offering no public comment, which only made the situation feel even more suspicious. The industry itself began reacting. Promoters who had booked both artists started quietly reconsidering their contracts, unsure if either man could be trusted in a professional setting. For Stevie J, an arrest record tied to violence could scare away future gigs. For Scrappy, the image of being hospitalized after a fight threatened to paint him as vulnerable at a time when rappers thrive on strength and resilience. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get any worse, whispers began circulating that legal action might expand beyond just Stevie J's arrest. Sources claimed Scrappy's team was considering pressing charges or filing a civil lawsuit for damages. That rumor alone added another explosive layer to an already shocking scandal. This wasn't just beef anymore. It was becoming a legal battle, with the power to shift careers, friendships, and reputations forever. The chaos that started backstage didn't just end with one arrest and a trip to the hospital. It spiraled into days of nonstop headlines, interviews, fan reactions, and industry fallout that changed the way both Stevie J and Lil Scrappy were seen. If Part 1 showed us the fight itself, and Part 2 unpacked the immediate aftermath, Part 3 dives into the long-term damage, the legal twists, and the shocking way the story keeps resurfacing. As soon as Stevie J was released from custody on bail, paparazzi were waiting outside the station. He stayed silent at first, only keeping his head down and walking past cameras. But later that evening, a clip surfaced of him ranting outside a hotel, claiming the entire situation had been blown out of proportion and insisting that Scrappy was playing victim. His words didn't sit well with the public. Instead of defending himself calmly, Stevie came off as angry and dismissive, almost as if he wasn't taking the seriousness of Scrappy's hospitalization seriously. Fans immediately called him out online, saying his attitude only proved he was guilty of taking things too far. Meanwhile, Scrappy's recovery was becoming its own public story. Photos leaked from inside the hospital showed him bandaged up, looking tired but alert. His family and close friends made sure to stand by his side, with Erica Dixon once again stepping up as his loudest defender. She took to social media multiple times, accusing Stevie J of having no respect for boundaries, and even claiming that this wasn't just about the fight, that Stevie had been messy with women and money for years, stirring up problems wherever he went. Her posts lit up gossip blogs, making it hard for Stevie to control the narrative. But what really shocked fans came when VH1 producers allegedly tried to sit both men down for a mediated conversation to salvage the storyline. Sources claim Scrappy refused, saying he wouldn't sit across from someone who nearly broke his ribs. Stevie, on the other hand, was reportedly open to it, likely because he knew it could help his image. When that mediation attempt failed, the network quietly shifted focus, pulling footage from the fight and shelving it instead of risking lawsuits. Still, clips continued to leak. One anonymous staffer leaked audio from the moments after the fight, with security shouting and voices in the background screaming for medical help. That raw soundbite alone went viral, reigniting outrage across social media. Some fans said it proved Scrappy was in worse shape than anyone had admitted, while others argued it was staged to make Stevie look like the villain. And then came the legal blow. Police confirmed they were still investigating whether more charges could be filed. Scrappy's legal team was reportedly gathering medical documents to prove his injuries were severe, while Stevie's lawyer began claiming self-defense. That phrase, self-defense, became the new lightning rod. Supporters of Stevie J argued that Scrappy must have thrown the first punch, while Scrappy's camp insisted Stevie ambushed him. With no clear video showing the exact start of the fight, the truth became a matter of perspective. Adding another twist, Jocelyn Hernandez doubled down on her earlier comments, telling interviewers that Scrappy should have known better than to pick a fight with Stevie. She painted the whole situation as Scrappy's fault, claiming Stevie wasn't the kind of man to back down if provoked. Fans accused her of trying to stay relevant by dragging out the scandal, but her words still carried weight, especially since she knows Stevie's temperament better than most. As the weeks went on, the fight turned into more than just a scandal. It became a cultural talking point. Memes spread across Instagram and Twitter, with fans joking about Scrappy taking the L or Stevie J catching another case. Rap blogs dissected every angle, debating whether the fight was a reflection of deeper industry issues like ego, relevance, and the pressure to perform drama for ratings. For Scrappy, the hospitalization gave him a moment of sympathy, but it also raised uncomfortable questions. Was he now seen as weak? Could he bounce back musically after being portrayed as the one who ended up on a stretcher? Some fans argued that he needed to flip the narrative by dropping a diss track aimed at Stevie J, while others felt he should focus on healing and leaving the negativity behind. Scrappy himself fueled speculation by posting cryptic captions about real pain and snakes in the grass, but never directly addressing Stevie again. Stevie J, on the other hand, leaned into the drama. Instead of going quiet, he began teasing new music and hinting that the fight had inspired him creatively. In one Instagram Live, he even played a snippet of a track that referenced haters in hospitals, which many fans took as a jab at Scrappy. The backlash was immediate, with critics saying Stevie was mocking violence instead of taking responsibility. But perhaps the most telling sign of how deep this feud had cut came during industry events. Both men were suddenly uninvited from certain shows and appearances. Promoters didn't want the risk of another Backstage blow-up. Rumors swirled that security teams at major award shows were told to keep Stevie J and Scrappy on separate floors if they ever both attended. The fight had effectively blacklisted them from working together in any capacity and tarnished their reputations in the process. The fallout also spread beyond just the two men. Friends and associates found themselves pulled into the drama, forced to take sides. Young Jock, for example, tried to stay neutral, but ended up being criticized by Scrappy's fans for not showing more loyalty. Carly Red made sly comments online about grown men acting like kids, which stirred more speculation about who she was shading. The fight had become so big that it divided entire circles within love and hip-hop. Months later, when the dust began to settle, the scars, both physical and reputational, remained. Scrappy eventually performed again, showing fans he could still bring energy to the stage. But every time he stepped in front of a crowd, whispers about the fight followed him. Stevie J, meanwhile, managed to dodge serious prison time but walked away with another black mark on his legacy, one that fans and critics alike wouldn't let him forget. And that's the thing about scandals like this. They don't just fade. They linger, living forever on blogs, fan pages, and YouTube clips. For Stevie J and Lil Scrappy, this backstage fight wasn't just one bad night. It became a defining moment in their careers, one that reminded everyone how fast things can spiral when egos clash and tempers explode. The real question now is, did either of them truly learn from it? Or is this just the beginning of another cycle of violence, shade, and industry chaos waiting to erupt all over again? And there you have it. What started as a heated backstage moment exploded into one of the wildest scandals we've seen in years. Stevie J walked away in handcuffs, Lil Scrappy ended up in the hospital, and the fallout has left the industry divided. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Stevie J really crossed the line? Or was this just two men letting long-time beef boil over? And what about Scrappy? Does this fight hurt his reputation? Or will fans rally behind him even stronger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next bombshell. Because if this fight taught us anything, it's that the drama in this industry never sleeps.